start up the meeting because of camera conflict. So I'll have to give up on that for today. Oh, who wants to wait 2 minutes? Not going to. So this morning, we're talking about what released on Epic, which is the 4.26 Unreal Engine version of Train Sim World 2. So good morning to Michael, who I know is online, and there's someone else watching, but don't know who that is at this point, but welcome to you, and let's get started. So unusually, we've got a blank desktop today, and that's simply because I wanted you to see the startup for this thing, because it's actually kind of cool. So it does take a while to get going, though, after you click on it. So we'll just wait for that to happen. Insert exciting music here. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully we'll hear the game too. I don't think you're hearing the game, are you? Sigh. Computers. It's going to be one of those days. Hang on a tick. We'll get this right yet. Okay, let's force it onto that, and then force it onto that. What do we get? Do we get game sounds now? Yes, I think so. It's quiet, though. Oh, well, that's enough of that anyway. So there's a whole bunch of new stuff now. Have you actually got audio, people? Just to make sure that you heard the game then and you can hear me now. No sound at all. Ah, all right. That's not good. I am showing sound going out on the stream now. I wasn't initially. But it should be okay now, I think. I can see, yeah, I can definitely see sound bars going up and down. Okay. Have you got game audio now? And Michael's asked, have I had any issues from playing the Epic version when trying to play the Steam version? No issues so far. So there's still no audio going out at all. That's very strange. This is a problem we're trying to start up Meet before, I think. Okay, so you're hearing game audio now? Waits the obligatory 4 seconds. All right, look, hopefully you are. Hopefully you're hearing game audio. That'll be good, because we've got a bit to talk about. So since I accidentally selected a route, let's head back to our starting point out here. There's no audio right now because the game doesn't make any. It's quiet at this point. Interestingly, at this point, it is driving my frame rate at about 160 FPS. So it's one of those games where the menu's a bit daft, but at least I've got limiting in there. But anyway, we have seen quite a few changes in this 4.26 version, but there are some things that are the same. So once you connect up Dovetail Live, which on the day it launched you actually couldn't, but you now can, your mastery challenges from Steam come over. So this is all held in Dovetail Live. Now, interestingly, there's challenges showing here for routes that you actually can't buy on Epic. That's vaguely amusing, but that's okay. And they all seem to work. And what's interesting, though, is even though I've got them, when you go into those routes, you can't actually turn on the overlays for them. So I guess that's still to come at some point. We've got our new route menu. So I've only got the base game from Epic because I don't plan on buying the DLCs over again. Michael has just said in the chat that one person on the forum said he played in the Epic version, then went to play the Steam version and got an error. I've gone back and forth, so I'd be a little bit surprised, unless they did something clever like installing them into the same folder. That would certainly cause issues because they're different versions of the DLLs. But anyway, in the base game, there are 3. There's Sandpatch Grade, Schnellfraßstrecker Kohl, and apologies to the Germans for that horrible pronunciation, and Bakerloo. And all 3 have had changes. All 3 have had bug fixes done to them. Interestingly, I can't actually get the 403 moving in this version, but that's okay. I often can't get it moving in the other versions, so that's probably me. So we're going to jump into Sandpatch just to start. And I should show you this filter thing, I suppose. You can filter it to different routes. They talked about having different countries as well. So providers, sorry, not routes. But anyway, I think that's actually a not useful feature, but that's all right. So we're going to jump into Sandpatch. We're going to go into a particular scenario. Sorry, timetable. Let's crank up the clouds and nothing else. Let's go for the SD40 because I like them. And which one do I want to do? X791. Search is now reliable. Like that. So, before we get going too much, let's just make sure that this thing's happy with the rail driver. Let's do that, and do that, and do that. Just turning some stuff on. Yep, it's talking to the rail driver. Good sign. All right, let's set up. Now, before I'll set up the brake and just get it to start working. This is only just 2 carriages. But before we get further into that, let me introduce you to the Octopus. So this is OpenTrack, and I have a Android app, which I'm turning on now, which is called Smooth Track. Now, interestingly, I haven't actually tested this with a microphone in the way, so hopefully it works. Ooh, there we go. So just by moving my head around, which hopefully you can see in my camera. No, my camera's died. Well, that makes life easy, doesn't it? Let me see if I can resolve that now. Let me just turn off Smooth Track for a moment, because there's not much point doing this if you can't actually see my head, is there? Alright, let's just turn him off and turn him back on again and see if he works. No. Okay, let's switch to the backup camera. Yay, backup camera. Will it wake up? Will it wake up? It's not looking promising. It's not looking promising at all. This is going well today. Alright, I'm going to try and delete the other camera and add it again to my stream, and we will see what happens. Oh, look at that. That turned the windscreen wipers on. How awesome's that? That's just funny. Everything's going wrong today. Right. Camera coming up. It's too big. Let's make it smaller. Let's put it over here. Let's make sure it doesn't include the FPS counter, because I want you to be able to see that. It doesn't. Alright. So, now that you can see my head again, can I turn the windscreen wipers off? Probably. But we're going to get stuck with that text up there forever, because Dovetail haven't fixed that, even in this new version. Woohoo! Okay. Now, you can see my face moving now, so I will go back and find the octopus again, wherever he's gone. There he is. And I'll start him up again. So, this is poor man's Track IR. Now, interestingly, watch this. See, the window's not open. I can stick my head outside. Do you know, I think that would hurt putting your head through the window. But you can look down at things. Let me just put the octopus up on the top right for the moment. So if you watch the octopus itself, you can see that I'm leaning out to see more. Leaning in to go to specific things. I can look at my, I can look at my mate over there, sort of. It's not as good as Track IR. I've seen people using Track IR, and that's a lot better than this, but this is okay. Now, interestingly, you can actually combine it with the mouse movements to do even more. But then it gets a bit hairy. So I want to turn on the radio. Let's turn on the alerter for the hell of it. And let's just have a look outside. So you notice Track IR works in here. When we go to the outside camera, nothing. 2 and 3 cam, nothing. 8 cam, nothing. But coolly, if I get out of my chair and head over here, it does work out here. So when you're wandering around, if, for example, you wanted to go and, I don't know, you want to go look at this pallet. Oh yeah, we can look at the pallet a bit closer. It's not as good when you're outside. It seems to do a little bit less tracking. So I find I still have to use the mouse. But anyway, let's have a look around. So scenery-wise, it is the same stuff. But it's darker. Every route is darker. That's interesting. Now, is that the new shadow drawing feature? Don't know. But the trees in the distance, and you can still see my head tracking happening here. I hope I don't make you seasick. The trees in the distance are definitely better, I think. So you've got shadows and things happening where there should be shadows and things happening. Now, this isn't a particularly bright day that I've selected on this one, even though it's in the middle of the day. But it's certainly different. Now, is it better? Don't know. Is that a bird? It's a bird. Did we have birds before, or is this new? Hey, look, head tracking tracks birds. I'm not so easily distracted, aren't I? Look, shiny thing. Okay. The new route choosing menu layout, I could take it or leave it. Doesn't really worry me either way. I don't dislike it. I don't like it. But, you know, it's just a menu. Maybe it'll open the door for bigger and better things. But let's just get these brakes released. And this shouldn't take very long because it's only 2 locos. There they go. Now, what I do find challenging with head tracking is if I go and look at the rail driver to try and find something, it does it in a cab. Uh-oh, we're rolling backwards. Let's blow up the traction motors by engaging them while we're rolling backwards. It's okay, it'll figure it out. Let's get rid of that here spell. Alright, so we're going to drive down the route just a little way. Now, before we get too far, there's the new menus. So we have some stuff that we had before in a different format. So it's a little bit of stuff about our train. Interestingly, 354 tonnes for 2 locos. I very much doubt that. Really doubt it. Yes, Michael's just said in the chat that he's very happy that mastery doesn't pop up when you get into the game anymore with the new update. I have to say I'm happy with that too. The less clicks that you don't care about, the better. Often have that conversation with application developers. It's like, no, that's too many clicks. Now, in the pause menu in-game, we're sitting, I don't know if you can actually see that, if it's big enough for you to see, but we're sitting on 92, 93 frames per second, and it's roving up and down a bit. So I've got a monitor that supports G-Sync, which is NVIDIA's proprietary version of V-Sync. So it's okay. It's not going to do any damage that it's doing that. Now, we've got a HUD guide. Now, this, I think, is really welcome thing for new players. And it's probably not a bad thing for seasoned players when you're changing routes, because things in this thing do change on various locomotives. So these can mean different things on some locos, for example. Some of these change in meaning in locos. So I think this is actually useful, and it's really useful for new players. And I don't mind that it's massive. I know a lot of people have been commenting about that. Really doesn't worry me too much. The control guide. Now this is welcome. I don't have to go into settings anymore to get a quick view of my controls. Now, I'd love it if the rail driver was in here. And what I'm not sure of is if you have an Xbox or a PlayStation controller, does it show that? I'm kind of hoping it would, but I don't know because I don't own one. I probably should grab a PlayStation controller and plug it in, actually. I have got some upstairs and steal one from my son. There is a overview of the route itself, which is showing gradients. It's pretty boring on Sandpatch Grade, actually. It's kind of hard to tell what it is. But it is showing your gradients and your gradient steps, but it's, it's the best way to describe it. A little bit crap. Let's describe it as that. Just a little bit crap. So this shows really good promise, though. I like the idea. I really like that they're doing something about it. That's cool. But it is only a little portion. I'd love to see. See, I don't think we can scroll it left or right. Those are some things I'd love to be able to see. I'd love to be able to scroll this thing. I'd love to be able to see the whole route. I'd love to be able to click a button and see the whole route. Maybe we can. No, that just go back to that map. That's boring. All right. And now we drop out of that menu. Okay. We have a new static map. This I love. This is really good because you can do all the things that you want to be able to do on a map. You can zoom in. You can look at it. You can't go to the places, though. That would be cool if you could right-click or left-click or do something and go to that spot, because that would be really fun for exploring on foot or exploring with a train, either way. But this is really, really good. Now, I really do wish that they had this in the live map in the game. That would be cool. But we don't have place names in the live map. I'm hoping yet, because... You know, I do actually understand why it's difficult, because getting Unreal Engine to draw place names is not something it's really cool at. This is different content, so this is coming out in a different way. We have the new schedule screen, which is scrollable now, so it's not just the T screen inside the thing that you can't scroll terribly well. So this is welcome. And you can have your log about what you're doing. In this one, it's not really useful, but in some of the more complex ones in the scenarios, it actually will be useful to understand where the game thinks you're up to versus where you're up to. We're now hitting the 90 FPS up there. All right, so let's go back and drive for a little while. And I'll try not to move around too much, because I reckon if I keep doing this, I'll make both of us seasick. So sound-wise, a lot of people were worried about that. Engine sound seems to be fine to me in 4.26. The horn's still the usual one that's not right. And it's still very quiet. The bell's louder, which is funny. Let's just pop outside, make it a bit louder. Let's go right up to notch 8. So, sound-wise, I think's fine. What I do really like, though, let's get into the 8 cam. Let's watch him go past. Now let's run along inside. Let's get up here next to this tunnel and just sit here. What I do really like is the smoothness. It's just really nice. Now, the other thing I like, I'm outside in a tunnel. It's kind of pointless because I can't see anything, but I'm not actually in a cab. I can use the 2 and the 3 inside a tunnel, which is cool. Finally. 3 does some weird things sometimes. That's 3 cam now. Sometimes it's really cool. Sometimes the 2 cam's not yielding anything really useful there, but the 3 cam looks all right. So it's good that we can do that. So there definitely are some changes happening. I'll try and hold my head still for a moment so we can see the new cab sway. So all the movement you're hearing now is cab sway. I'm going to have to find the Q key here somewhere. There it is. And it didn't trigger. Alright, second press worked fine. I'm liking the cab sway. I've got it cranked up to the maximum because, I don't know, if you've ridden in a real locomotive, you know they move around like crazy, even on good track. So, and yes, I know I'm going way too fast. We'll survive. Honest. So let's just pop outside again because I want to go out and have a look at scenery now that we've got some more distant stuff to look at. Let's go up in the air as high as we can, which isn't very high. So, definitely darker. I mean, this is, what, 11:05? in the morning. So I would have thought brighter, but no. But it looks all right. So it looks more full. Looks interesting. I think if we had a brighter day, it might work better. Might be more what we expect. I've lost my train now. Where's it gone? Let's go train hunting. There it is. He's just cruising along. So I posted some screenshots. I think it was actually somewhere near this location, to be honest, on the forum the other day, just to show the new stuff. Of course, you'd be going off. At least you can press any button to kill the alerter in an SD40. They're going quite fast, aren't they? I'm just heading down to one of the towns and show you what that looks like with the new features turned on. We'll just let the train cruise by itself. Don't really care if it stops, because we want to get to the town. I kind of wish the track IR feature worked in here, but it doesn't. Invisible walls. Love invisible walls. There's some little features down here. I don't think these are new. I think they were the ones there. Hey, look, we crashed. That's all right. I'd pretty much finished showing you that one anyway. So the good news is it all works with the rail driver. We've got the new task screens. We've got all the other new screens. And we've had a look at smooth track. Frame rate rise, I don't know if you noticed, but the frame rate was actually really good. It was better than it was before. Sitting in our menu again, I think there's been a change, an update, because now it limits to 100. I was seeing 160 before, which is the upper rate of my monitor. So G-Sync was limiting it to 160 or 165. But now I'm seeing it sitting at 100, and I don't see it go over that anymore, which is cool. Now, one thing I do find in-game, and I'll show you in the next one we're going to, I'm just going to change routes now. Let's go over to Bakerloo. The in-game, the menu to me seems a little bit confusing. So we're going to run 226D06, and I'll leave the clouds alone. August, I believe, is summer in the UK, so it should be a bit bright, so we'll just leave all that stuff alone. 78.5 Fahrenheit does seem, it's only warm. I mean, people like Michael and myself, where we have real hot days, understand that Britons have no idea. I mean, Britons actually die when it gets to 25 degrees Celsius. They literally curl up and die. It's a bit mean to say that, but it's true. I just can't imagine what would happen to it if it ever got to 45 degrees Celsius. But anyway, that's okay. Now, interestingly, if I was a new player and I've come in here and I've got this menu, what do I do now? Do I pick that? Do I pick that? It's not as intuitive as the old one, in the respect that you need to pick your rolling stock. I would have thought if there was only one, you probably wouldn't have to, but it looks like you do. But that's okay. Anyway, we're going to run 226D06, just because I want one that's outside. And I want one that's in daytime. So changing over to our new route. What we don't see, there's none of the new passenger features as far as I can tell. So now I have to remember how to turn this thing on. Oh, that's right. It's down here. This is where Smooth Track helps you a little bit, which is also Track IR. So getting down to there. Still having a fight with the mouse though. All right. So now we're going to try and center again. There we go. So the tracking's kind of helpful with that horrible key. Let's bring this to forward. What I have to learn now is to handle my rail driver controls without actually looking at anything. So we're in forward. Doors should be shut. We have to move the controller and press that thing. And in theory, now we can move. Yay! All right, so looking around in this cab, one thing I do note, I've set my Z-axis deliberately a little bit further back than the driving position, but that does mean if I lean back, and it's not going to track me now. I think it's having trouble with the microphone being in the way. But what I have found is it's possible to stick your head in the passenger cabin, which is kind of funny. The other thing I found, oops, is that red? No, it's not red. It just says it's red, but it's not really, it's green. The next one's red though. Isn't that funny? I'm sure that light was red, but it said it was green. No, all good. All good. We do have a red light here though, so this one's real. But as I was saying, it's possible to stick your head completely out of the world. If you're in a tunnel and you stick your head out, you can end up outside the world. I did find that that was problematic. I couldn't get back in. That's life. So we'll just sit here and wait for this red signal. I don't know how long we have to wait for, but we will. Now, frame rate rise, it's quite nice. So we're sitting on 75, 76 here. That's quite healthy. It's higher than the old version. Interestingly, there's mixed reports of people using it with DX12. I tried and I found that it really didn't make any difference at all. Now, I'm running at 150% on a 2K screen with a 3070. Yeah, it's a 3070 video card. And I'm pretty happy with that frame rate. I reckon that's pretty awesome compared to what we had before. I don't know why we're having to wait for a red signal, but let's go and explore a little bit outside. So train looks pretty much the same as it did before. All the other sorts of drawing things like the sparkly rails. All those sorts of things seem to sound as much as they did before. I should be waiting for a train or something. Let's have a look at the map. There's nothing moving. Maybe we found one of those unplayable services that you can't actually get where you're going. That'd be vaguely funny. But let's do what we need to do with the 8 key anyway. Let's get up a bit higher. So it's nice and bright here. It's not like Sandpatch Grade where it was dark. I can't really tell if it looks better or not in the distance. I kind of think it does. I kind of think that the shadows on the sides of the buildings are actually there and working. So if you look at these buildings, for example, behind the train, one side's darker. And in the old version, I don't think that happens. So that's kind of cool. We're still waiting for a red signal here. So let's just cruise along. Yeah, I'll press tab in a moment, but we'll have a look around the town. So it seems to be pretty much the same as it was before. We just hit 100 FPS for a brief moment there. We're sitting in the 90s now. Is this as far as I can get from my train? No, I have to go back on the track. I hit an invisible wall. Now, I'm running default engine.ini settings on this because I want it to be fair to it. Notice all the stuff that pops in. That, as a new player, I think we just heard a B, but that as a new player, that's so off-putting. And I really feel for the people living in the console walled gardens who can't fix this. I mean, in PC version, I'll quite happily drop 10 FPS to have my drawing distance set so that things don't pop in front of me, because that's really annoying. Let's go look at our passengers. I don't think they got any kind of update though. These look like the same old passengers as they have ever had. So we're still waiting for rush hour for passenger updates, and that's cool. All right, let's head back to our train and let's try Michael's suggestion of pressing tab. Contact the signaller. Oh, look at that. Well done, sir. Well done. All right, let's go and drive. So I've still got the head tracking turned on. Now I'm using not TrackIR. So TrackIR is in Australia about $500. It's kind of expensive. I mean, granted, yeah, today's prices, the rail driver costs that. I mean, a video card costs 3 times that. The CPU costs twice that. But, you know, it all adds up. How much extra do you want to spend? So, in using OpenTrack, which was that software with the octopus that you saw before, and using, I'm using on an Android phone, I'm using SmoothTrack. Now, for SmoothTrack to work, you need a phone that supports AR Core 2, which means a fairly high-end phone. Let's open the doors. We can look out here. The stopping points kind of align with the monitors, but most outdoor stations, they still don't work. The indoor ones, they work, but they're showing a static view that's not actually your train, which is kind of boring. It is a little bit difficult to get used to not looking at the rail driver, which is over here. But it's nice to be able to look around the cab. So if I want to look over there, for example, I can. If I want to look over here, if I want to look in front, if I want to stick my head out the window, I can. Without opening it, because I think there's an interlock on that window that stops the train if you open it. But it's kind of cool. You can, I know with Track IR you can actually turn your head completely and look backwards. You cannot do that with the Android app Smooth Track. It's not just Android, by the way. It's available on the current series of iPhones too, but I believe it doesn't work on anything other than the current series. And I think it has to be the latest iOS too, so iOS 13. To have these things. But that's cool. Driving without the big HUD. Bit challenging in the sun here. It's hard to see that speedo. I wonder if I can turn on the backlighting. No, it doesn't help. But Track IR does make it interesting. It makes it feel more alive to me. I shouldn't keep calling it Track IR. Head tracking makes it feel more alive to me. I actually kind of enjoy using it now that I'm getting used to it. But when I first started to use it, and before I set up the sensitivity on the app, and before I found a way to hold my phone up so that it was nearly vertical and in a position where it could charge, because AR Core gobbles the juice. Absolutely gobbles it. I'm going to move my mouse out of there. It's a bit disturbing. My phone, I've got a... Well, actually, I won't go into what I've got because I don't want to run the brands up. But my phone will run for about a day and a half with normal usage on the battery. When I'm running Smooth Track, it lasts about an hour from 100%. Now, it doesn't get hot, but it does get warm. Some people might find that a bit disconcerting. So it has to charge while it's running. Now, fortunately, I've got wireless charging, so it's sitting in a wireless charger. I don't have to worry about a cable. But you have to bear that in mind. I mean, the real device is not going to have those kinds of issues. But this does work. And to me, if you wanted to try it out without having to pay to get Track IR up and running, this would be a pretty good option. Did I make it next to the monitor? No, not quite. That's okay. We'll open the doors anyway. So I'm quite pleased with the update so far. I think it's kind of cool. It does all seem to be working properly. So all the people who were afraid of 4.26 being really awful and bad and destroying the universe, I don't think it has. To me, the Bakerloo sounds do actually sound a little bit better, by the way. But I didn't hate them before like some people do, but that's probably because I've never written in a thing for real. So I don't know what it's supposed to sound like, so I'm probably happy with what I got. Got a lot of yellows on this run. Following invisible trains. Frame rate's still good, so we're in the 80s at the moment, which isn't surprising. There's a fairly complex yard up there on our right. I found, if you're wondering, I've driven all the route of Sandpatch, and I found that the lowest I got was 50, and the highest was 101 throughout Sandpatch. That, in the old version, was more along the lines of 35 up to about 85, so it's a definite improvement. The other improvement that's really worth mentioning, and it's a good one, is the size of the download. So the base of Train Sim World 2, when you pull it from Steam in the 4.23 version, is almost 30 gig. And me, I'm on 250 meg internet, so, 30 gig. Care factor, don't really care. But most people aren't on that kind of connectivity. Most people, if they're lucky, are probably on about 50 megabits, and that's on a good day. I stopped a little bit early there, but that's what happens when you talk to people. I should probably just keep the brakes on too. So just pop outside and watch people getting in and out. So it's not really any different to before. They still drop down to get in through the door there. That's good. It's good to have a no smoking policy, yes. Very important. Alright, let's lock these doors. Must be time for departure cam shortly. Where's my train? Now, this is one thing I don't like. They don't have a mouse sensitivity adjustment anymore. Like, what the? Why not? Snapping back now. Now, I've watched some videos of Bakerloo. I particularly went and had a look at the external sounds, or had a listen to the external sounds, and I reckon that's about spot on. So, pretty happy with that. As I was just going back to what I was talking about with the mouse sensitivity, in the menu item, if we go in there, into options and settings and controls, there's a left stick and right stick sensitivity. Now, I don't have a controller, and this is where mouse sensitivity used to be. So, I think this is a mistake. This is probably a bug, because it should probably be applicable to what you've actually got. And changing it makes no difference to the mouse at all. Now, I've got a high-res gaming mouse, and playing with a high-res gaming mouse is irritating as. So, this needs fixing. Just while we're in here, the other thing that I think is a bit weird, I want to get out of here and I want to get back to my root screen. How do I do it? Okay, escape. I'm in here. How do I do it? Eventually you discover that it's in options. Now, I know it was called main menu before. Michael's just asked what's under advanced. Unfortunately, not that, but I'll show you in a tick. There's main menus here. I know it was called main menu before, but this isn't really intuitive. Maybe root menu would be better. And exit takes you right out of the game completely, which is probably not that desirable. Under settings, under advanced, we have our graphic settings. And I have my max FPS sitting here at 101. I have tried it set to and it doesn't seem to make a hell of a lot of difference. The other settings, audio is the usual stuff. Screen is the usual stuff. I'm currently running, I'm down at 149 now. I was 150 before. And I haven't touched it, so that's interesting. What else? I've got anti-aliasing turned off currently because I'm running at 150%, so you don't seem to need to do the anti-aliasing quite as much. Some things like the grills are a bit funny. Controls-wise, we have the standard gamepad setup, keyboard setup, rail driver, of course. And all the locos that came with it are supported. Now, I think they've done some more work on rail driver because it's a lot better. It's all working better. The one exception is the windscreen wipers. When they go down to 0 on some trains, the message just stays there forever. So I think it's constantly sending that the windscreen wipers are now off. All the other things, it's all the usual stuff that we had before. I don't think there's anything new in here, except for camera motion sway level. So I've got that cranked at 200%. It defaults, funnily enough, at 100%. So let's pop back to our game anyway and drive a bit more before we go and have a look at the other units over on the German one. And I've faffed around for so long, my signal's now green, so I can speed up a bit. And it is much more realistic to be able to look out the windows without touching anything. I like that. Can get right round over there. It's not quite doing it with the microphone in the way, so you can't actually see it, but the microphone is taking up about 1/3 of the screen from Smooth Track, the Android app. So you're finding mouse issues too, Michael. Oops, I should stop here, shouldn't I? Let's get some max brake going. Whee! Overrun, overrun, overrun. Will he have one door in the platform? Will he? Will he? Yes. Perfect stop. Perfect stop. Everybody's picking up their coffee from the floor right now, but that's okay. All right. Locking our doors. Let's drive from outside for a bit, just to be different. Are you finding issues with the throttle on rail driver, Michael? Because I have to say I'm not. I've seen a couple of people comment on that in the forums. Whee! Bit fast. Oops, ran into something. There's a train here somewhere. I think we're outside the railway. There's a 15-mile limit coming up, and I'm going really fast. There's a train. Well, there was a train. Better start slowing down, I guess, for this 15-mile thing. Ah, that's right. We're in the sheds. Let's see if we stay outside now that we're going into a shed. Alright, we've stayed outside the train. So, Michael, you're getting notch 1 and then it jumps straight to 4 and then 7. That's interesting. I'm not really experiencing that in either version of the game, 4.2.6 or 4.2.3. So that's strange. I'll jump back into Sandpatch Grade and let's give that a crack. So I'll just stop here and finish this one. But you can see the controls are doing what I want them to do here. So that's working okay. Come on, come out of the station. Maybe I should just do it on free cam and give up. So, scenery-wise, nice bright sun up there. Shadows on the backs of the buildings. So I think that's the new feature. I'm going to get run over by a car, but that's alright. Oh, it's not my train leaving, it's someone else's. So, no shadows on the lit-up sides, but there are shadows. Now, that's new, I'm pretty sure. So I like that. That was an awkward turn from that car. So I do think the new feature is there that they talked about. I know some people have sort of said maybe it's not. But I think this is the shadow. This light source that's running along here is a bit weird and the draw distance is a bit weird. So when I run my engine on my own one, my draw distance is set down there to the tunnel, more or less. So when you driving towards things, they don't come into existence. Like you can see all the sleepers and the detail coming into existence along here, including more shadow. I kind of don't like that. So I would like it to be better by default, but I understand why it's not. So let's pop back to Sandpatch Grade anyway. Options, main menu, yes. Switch route, Sandpatch. Let's jump into a timetable. Let's go back into the SD40 and let's pick anything that's going to be in daylight. There we go. Let's do that one. We're only going to have a look at the notching anyway, so let's just reset everything quickly before we get in there. I want the brakes on. Hopefully you guys are still hearing this, because I just heard a USB reset. And now I've lost sound completely. And I've lost... Oh, I'm back. Okay, are you guys still hearing me? Are you still hearing the game? Because I just had a USB reset. So... But anyway, we're here to test notching. Nothing else. Let's get it into... I think I've lost... No, I haven't lost Rail Driver. I thought I had for a moment. Okay, lights on. Come on, head track, do your thing. Geez, it gets confused when you go from one train to another one. And... lean ahead. Okay, release the brakes. This is a big intermodal thing, so it'll take a little while. Let's get our devices turned on so we can see the back of the train pumping up. Now, while that's pumping, we can notch up anyway. We just won't go anywhere. And normally you'd blow up your traction motors doing this, but let me just turn on the cab light so you can see better. So, there's notch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we are starting to stretch our couplers. 7, and 8. So, going the other way. It did jump between 8 and 7 there, but I can get 7 back. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And same with the dynamics. Set up for the requisite 10 seconds. So that's sort of sitting between 1 and 2. 2, 3. Yeah, dynamics is a little more touchy. Seems to have half notches. And I do think it's really funny that you hear the engine revving up. Still they haven't fixed this when you're on dynamics. Because I'm not moving, so the dynamics wouldn't be making any noise at all, and it doesn't use the engine. But anyway, that's okay. Dovetail don't understand trains, we know that. So it's interesting that you're getting issues with the notching, Michael, because it's certainly not universal. Anyway, let's go off and have a look at our next route. So back to the main menu again. The other one is Schnellfahrstreckenkoln. This one. So let's go in here and explore. Tell I haven't played much. Let's jump into the Talent 2. You'll do. You're in daylight. Sort of a unfortunate angle. Now I've got to remember how to drive this thing. Pantograph. Circuit breaker. Does this thing support? No, it doesn't support AFB, so that's fine. I'm not going to turn on PZB. I'm not a masochist. Let's into forward. We should be able to open the doors now. Sounds promising. It is promising. Good. Alright. Headlights we should have. Let's go outside. Have we got headlights? We've got headlights. Frame rate's good. Better than before, definitely. I was only getting in the 30s in the previous version. Look at all this stuff you can turn on. We're not going to turn any of it on. I don't want to deal with PZB today. I kind of got used to it, and then I kind of forgot how to use it again. So you reckon Clinchfield and the newest Moab route, so Cane Creek, are issues? Yeah, I've found them okay as well. When we finish this, if you like, I can run the Steam version. And hopefully won't run into any issues. Ah, we have to wait. Boring, boring, boring. But you know what? That signal's not red, so we're not going to wait. Doors are shut. Brakes are off. Hopefully. Yes, this one's notching okay as well. So it's fairly controllable. Head track still works in here. You can certainly pan around the whole thing. If I had the real head track, I'd be able to look behind me, but I don't, so I can't. Let's have a look outside. I really like the horizontal tracking now. Yeah, how smooth that is. In the 423 version, despite my best efforts to get it configured, could never get that degree of smoothness. So looking around here again, nice bright sun up in the sky, shadows on the backsides of the buildings. I don't know if this is something that they can just turn on or if they have to do work. Well, that building's a little bit strange. So we've got the sun, where is it? Sun there. So if I turn 180 degrees, I've got a church. I wouldn't have thought that wall should be so much shadow. Anyway, that's cool. That's okay. Let's come and visit our little talent too. I won't go too fast because we have to stop in about 900 meters. It sounds okay to me on the outside. Jumping back in. So I try and hold my head still so you get an idea of what the cab sway is. Actually, if I just pause the... I've paused the head tracking. So all movement you're seeing now is cab sway. Oh, I forgot how awful this thing's brakes are. Oh well. Doesn't matter. So they'll fall out in the tracks. They'll survive. Off they go, in the distance there. Go up there with them. On the wrong side. Still in the front. There's our lovely passengers. Still very much the same ones. Alright then. So let's go and jump into our other German train. And let's see if I can actually get it to work. I may need your help, Michael. Yeah, you'll do. You're during the day. I'm deliberately avoiding night because you can't see the new shadow feature at night. Alright then, so we have to put it into forward. I remember that. Put the pantograph up. And I think we've got some brakes on, so that's fine. And I think our brake should already be released. I think it's released. And turn on AFB. And it's that one. Back to the other menu. Twitchy mouse. Don't like it. Headlights. Normal high beams. That should be about it. So let's get the doors open. Alright, doors are open. That's a good sign. Headlights are on. Well, we're getting somewhere. It's not yelling at me in German yet. This is a good sign. So let's set the AFB to 40 kilometers an hour to start with. So press the 5 key twice, you reckon? And press it again. What does that do? And I assume back to the main screen? Or does that turn on your power or something? Ah, look at that. We've got power on our graph now. Well done again. Every stream needs a Michael. Oh yeah, the thing behind you. That is somewhere over here, isn't it? I think there's a key for it too. That's my lights. Now, no lights for the passengers. They'll just have to live. Because it's time to go. Now, will the train go? That's the question. It might work because right now it's not yelling at me in German. That's an excellent sign. Ah, it's going to go. Now, I should be able to just crank this because AFB's turned on. It should just go to 40 kilometers an hour and sit there. Closer to the red button, you reckon? Is that one? Or up there? Ah. We now have opaque glass behind us. You know what I didn't do? We at least have to get yelled at periodically. There we go. We now have CIFA. And we're almost at the point where we can speed up. You can tell I don't use the 403 and the 406 very often, can't you? Alright, we should be in the 100 zone now. The back of the train's probably not quite past it yet, but... So let's just set that to 100. Let's just turn on head tracking again. If I look in here, you can see the little red dot. Q. So the AFB is setting the speed at 100. Yeah, I did set the AFB handle. I'm using Rail Driver. And I just bumped it and set it over 100. So let's just bring it back a bit. It's now braking. We're coming... my head tracking's gone a bit wonky. We're coming into the 120 zone shortly. And I don't have to stop at this one. This is good. Just go through. Ooh, reward. I feel so privileged. Yeah, I kind of like PZB, but I haven't mastered it yet, Michael. So it's I haven't mastered it to the point that I'm not going to do it on a stream. I did once. I did actually get to the end of a route. I think I had a couple of issues in not acknowledging when I should have. We're in the 120 areas. Let's crank it up a little bit more. So, head tracking in here works quite nicely. And look up, looking down, zooming in on stuff. Kind of handy. You get some exercise instead of just sitting here. One interesting thing I note is it forces you to have better posture. So that could be good. I think we're in the 100 and... Whoops, wrong way. I think we're in the 140 zone now. Let's just pop out of the train. Let's get out of the trees. I notice that you hear the call for Zephyr when you're outside the train now. We've got our lovely popping in trees again. And I'd love to show you some distant scenery, but I can't really get up high enough. And those trees won't have shadows because the sun is off to our right. But the trees over here do have shadows. And the houses do. Yay, shadows. We're outside the train. Cameras here work outside the train too. So this is good. This is about time this came in. Anybody notice something funny about my pantographs? They're not up. Maybe the one down here is. This one is. Why aren't any of the other pantographs up? How weird. Hello, Zephyr. Alright. Oh, another slow zone. Yeah, it's interesting about the pantographs. I'm going to have to go watch some videos of German trains. I have had them talk about pantographs before. Yeah, we're supposed to start coming down to 120, so let's start doing that. Yeah, it's interesting that you'd route... I mean, it's 25,000 volts on the German railways, I think, from memory. 25,000 AC. It's interesting you'd only use one contact surface when you've got lots available. Got to come down to 110 now. That's a bit twitchy, the AFB. You just noticed I came down and had to go back up again. Sound in this seems to be about the same as it did in the other one. I'm not picking any real differences. Let's try the rail drivers alert button. Well, that did a PZB reset and did the Zephyr. Shortly we'll be able to go up to the full speed. My head tracking's a bit wonky again. Maybe it's just my head that's wonky. Maybe that's what it is. My head's bent. There's a nice crane out there. Zephyr again. I want to get to the fast bit because I just want to see how the frame rate goes when it's going fast, because we're sitting on high 70s right now. What's interesting to me is every time you see a signal it drops. So whenever you can see a light on, the frame rate drops. Which I kind of think is the real issue in some of the big yards. Cruising along. Speed up in half a kilometre. I'm trying to hold my head still so you can see the camera sway versus my head. My fingers are starting to learn where the stuff on the rail driver is so that I don't have to look. And the alert button on the rail driver is working, which is a nice improvement, but it's very slow. So you noticed I actually put on the brakes there. I don't think I've got LZB turned on, Michael. And if I jump out of the chair with Zephyr turned on, it'll stop me. We can... Let's give it a crack. Let's see what happens. It's going to stop me. No. We're not going to be able to get in there quick enough to turn on the LZB. Let's have a look outside. Zephyr again. What speed are we allowed to do now? 160? Let's go and do that. Could always just ignore the speed limits, I suppose. Anyone else want to see how fast it goes? $330 on the AFB. It's a little bit faster than we're allowed to do, but that's okay. Why is that so loud all the way here? Little birds. I just want to get it up to about 250 and then I'll go back to the 8 cam and have a look outside and see how smooth it is. Nearly there. Let's give it a try anyway. It's going faster than I can go. It's going to snap back in now. We have reached our 250. Let's see what that looks like. And if we look at our frame rate when I jump outside, 73, 74, 75, 77, up to 82 when the train's gone. All right, so let's jump out of there. Has anybody got any questions on the 4.26 version? If not, I'll jump out of here and go off to the 4.23 version and let's have a look at throttling on Clinchfield and Cane Creek with Raildriver. Just set the Raildriver back up again to all its default settings. Train's still doing 272 kilometers an hour. So let's head over to the original version. Let's let things sit for a little bit. Now let's run the original. All right, so now starting up the 4.23 Steam platform version, which hopefully will be all happy. A lot of people are guessing on when the Steam version will come out. I kind of think it won't be very long. Now that they've done their trial run. Not going to try and do that on a stream. Just too many opportunities to make my password visible there. All right, let's try Cane Creek first. Let's explore. Let's show me a timetable. Any particular loco, Michael? We're just going to have a look at the rail driver throttling with this version. I must have this stream set on the 20-second delay, not the 4-second delay. Because it's a long time until I'm actually getting responses back. So I know it's okay in the SD40 because I always drive the SD40. So let's try the AC 4400. Something during daylight. No, you want to go out and try the Clinchfield one. All right, we'll jump out of here and go and do Clinchfield on the F7. Or I could set up a scenario on here and run F7 on Cane Creek. Could do that. But let's jump out to Clinchfield and let's try the F7. Thinking music. Do you know how weird it is to go between the two versions? Alright, so let's jump in the F7. Let's just leave everything as it is and go and find a service that's in daytime so we can see what's going on. I guess you'll do. No, you'll do. Just waiting for it to load up. I'm going to chuck my guesses into the pool of things. I reckon we will see the first rush hour route within the next 2 weeks. You'll find this funny, but I was trying to move my head around to find the right switches then. Go into series parallel. How many locos have we got? We have 4. Great. Don't need a cab heater. We've got the lights on. Are we cut in? We are cut in. Alright, let's release the brakes. Let's go into forward. Cool. So I'll go for before August 14th, so that's the middle of the month, and Michael goes before August 26th, so that's the end of the month. Purely as a thing among mates, we'll see where we end up. Alright, so let's give this thing a try. Let's just zoom in on the throttle there so we can see it. None of my mods are turned on, by the way, so that's why the throttle's red, not... So we have notch 1. It did jump 2, notch 3, notch 4, 5, and 6. So yeah, it's a bit touchy there. But I can get them. Gotta be very gentle though. Yeah, and let's come down again. So 8. Yeah, it jumped over 7. Let's try and get 7. 7. Yeah, it is a little bit twitchy, but it's not unplayable. Let's have some lights. And I dare say dynamics will be the same. No, that's the other way, isn't it? We have to go that way. And then we'll go back in again, so doesn't use the back half of it at all. So we'll go back in. Now we're braking. So notch 1 on braking. It jumped through 1 into 2. I sound like someone else I watch, the lockpicking lawyer. Oh, 2's set. 3's set. 4's set. If you've never watched that guy, he's hilarious. He takes everybody's security locks and just opens them. Yeah, it's twitchy, but it's... You know, I wouldn't say it was unplayable. 7. Yeah, it's not too bad. Let's try their other loco here on this particular route. Go back to the main menu. It's quite jarring to go between one version and the other. Not from a game appearance perspective at all, but just the menus. Alright, so we're going to try the SD40. It's actually kind of funny. On every other route I drive the SD40. On this one I always drive the F7. And we want something during daylight. You'll do. I'm only picking daylight ones so we can see what's happening in the cab easier. One of my cats has just wandered past and it's found a little sunny patch near the windows. It's just settled in for the day, I think. Alright. Oops, I didn't set this up before. Let's put the handle in, go into forwards. Probably should have done those beforehand. Gauge lights. No, we want that closed. That. Yep, freight. Bloody twitchy mouse. No, I want lead. Lead. There we go. Looks happy enough. How many locos have we got? Just 3. I don't think this thing's got a number of locos setting. And we want to go into 1 on that one. Alright, so the brakes should be releasing. We've got no flow, so we should be okay to drive. Let's give it a try. Does it show a notch in this one? No. Got into 1 easy enough. Essentially, we have no brake pipe flow there. So I'm guessing it is still pumping up the train. Alright, let's grab another notch. Oop, well, yeah, I see what you mean. That went straight through to 4. So I can get back to 2. 4. Can't get 3. Yeah, they've done something weird there, haven't they? 6. Yeah, it's skipping notches. And there's so much travel. So all of that's happening. I don't know if you can see on the actual rail driver. But we're going from idle to 1 to 2. Well, we got 2 this time. 4. 6. 7. And of course the wheels are spinning now. Notch 8. Okay, notch 8, and we're only here. We've got this much more travel to go. That's, Yeah, I have to go and watch the wheels spark. Let's go watch the wheels spark. Has to be done, surely. No sparks. I'm sad. No sparks. Oh, that one's got sparks. There we go. There's some sparks. It only happens when you're a long way from them. Right now, there's a Wayne Works guy cursing me for drilling holes in his rails with my wheels. But that's okay. And you know why it's okay? Because it's her fault. She's letting me do it. No, you're definitely not imagining things, Michael. Seriously, those brakes still haven't come off all this time. Oh well. That's all good. So we've covered the old version. We've looked at notching on the new version. I don't think we had sound when I started up the new version before. So I'll do that again. Let me just kill the tracking thing, because I think that'll be confused. It's weird to come back to my desktop. Coming back to a desktop on a stream, that's just bizarre. Actually, one thing I should show with this, because I've seen people asking about it in the forums. Inside the Epic Games launcher, you can turn on DX12 if you want to. I remember how to do this now. There's games in this list that I haven't put in my library, which is a little bit weird, which makes me wonder if I had Epic games before. But you can have additional command line arguments and just pop in your minus DX12 if you want to. It doesn't seem to make any difference, but I have seen people asking on the forums about it. So, actually, let's try it. So we've got, that'll be enabled now. So let's actually start the beast and let's have a look. Let's see if we spot any difference. Train Sim World 2. You see how many friends I've got? It actually popped up the other day and it said you need friends. And I thought, oh, it's nice of you. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that new start, very busy. Let's go in here again. That new start is so busy. I don't think you'd want to be epileptic and watch that new start. Just saying. So I haven't driven an AC 4400 for donkeys. Let's try that with DX12. And we want something during daylight so we can see the difference. Where are you? You're in Cumberland Yard. You're in a boring area. That's a better one. Let's try this. Let's turn the head tracking back on too. Head tracking is working. Alright, so first up, there should be a generator switch down here somewhere. Generator, twitchy mouse. Come on, twitchy mouse. There we go. And air brakes. Let's cut them in. Just hearing that radio chatter reminds me something I should show on stream one day. When I'm driving things like Sandpatch and other American routes, there's a set of websites that actually give you the real radio chatter for various routes. So I'll have to do that on one stream. Actually, I'm not sure about doing it on stream. I wonder if it's got copyright implications if I rebroadcast their radio. Yep, we're going backwards. That's boring. Let's go for some traction motor exploding action of trying to start a train that's going backwards. Ooh, that was a bit jerky. Oh, no. Ah, it's only light engines. What am I worried about starting a train? It's just light engines. So did I show you with the head tracking? Well, you can put your head out through the window without opening the window. It's kind of funny. All right, so notching here. 1, 2, and 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. I'm not going to... Oh, that did get to 8 eventually. No sound. Ah, I know what that is. Hang on a tick. I know what that is. Let's just notch this down so it doesn't get completely out of control. And I want some Windows settings. All right, now we'll have game sound. It's default sound routing is strange. That's an interesting one. It won't make any difference to normal players. No difference whatsoever. But if I just bring in another screen for a moment, this is the routing screen for sound in Windows 10. And I use a Go XLR for streaming, as a lot of streamers do. A lot of streamers have other sound consoles as well, which means I've got multiple sound channels for my output. And I feed them to particular sliders on the Go XLR so that I can control the sounds independently without having to touch keyboards and all those sorts of things. So the interesting thing about that is when this game starts up, even though it's locked to the game channel, it always starts on the system channel, which I have muted because I don't want you hearing my Windows 10 noises. So that's something for streamers. You can go out of the train in the tunnel here. It's cool. Let's get some windscreen wipers or some lights on. So notching's okay on this one. And we're just taking the helpers down to Cumberland. Oh, well. I kind of think we may as well just do that. And we'll finish the stream off that way. Yeah, I think rail driver's set up per locomotive, Michael, so that would probably be why. That says it's red, but it's not. That's interesting. This is probably going to go badly. It's 60 miles an hour. We're going to get through it? Ooh, yes. That's kind of surprising. You're certainly seeing the larger cabsway. I think that's a little unrealistic, that level of cabsway. Although, you know, we are going 70 miles an hour on curves designed for 25, so maybe. Maybe it's real. Oh. Let's get a bit of brake going on, because this is getting silly. We're going to crash this thing soon. We are heading down the hill. This is probably not an exciting thing to stream. What I'd suggest with Rail Driver Michael, I'll go and log one as well, about Clinchfield. But any ones that you've actually got a bit of a problem with, I'd log a... Don't put it in the forums, or you can put it there too, obviously, if you want to, but I'd log an actual support ticket. Because the more people that log support tickets, the higher priority problems like that are going to get. Because while they tell us that they read the forums and act on the things in the forums... Look, I work in IT. We hear about things. We do not act on things that we hear about. We act on things that have support tickets because they affect our KPIs and they affect our metrics. So, I'm not saying Dovetail work that way, but they're an IT organisation. I would have to suggest that's pretty likely that that would be the way they worked. So... I'd log a support desk ticket in Kayako. If people are watching this who aren't familiar with it, let me go and grab you the link just while I'm doing this. You have to log in again. It's not your Dovetail login. I'll just put it in the chat. So you end up having to create a new account for this thing if you use it. But I really encourage people who are watching this and encourage people to play it back later. If you have got issues with the games, whether it's TS 2021 or TSW2, either the Epic or Steam versions, I would definitely log support tickets because I reckon they're going to act on those a lot more than they act on stuff that people post in the forums. So I think that probably brings us to everything that I actually wanted to show you today. Let me just check my little list and make sure I didn't skip anything because I made a little list of stuff. Yeah, I think that's everything. We've done it all, so that's good. So to me, new release is very, very promising. It's making me look forward to the core update. on Steam, because obviously I'm not going to switch to Epic. I went and grabbed the Epic one because it was free and because I wanted to have a look at the new one. It seems to be coexisting quite happily side by side. Make sure you don't put it in the same folders. And it does seem to transfer your achievements from one to the other, as in your mastery achievements, not your Steam achievements. It does not transfer those. So the stuff in Dovetail, if you look in the driver's logs, that seems okay as well. So it seems to figure out what you're doing. So that stuff's working okay. It seems to have the same problem that it drops out of the Dovetail logins, just like the other game does, so they haven't solved that. It'd be good to get that one solved as well. I have put in a support ticket for that one, as have a few other people. The upcoming releases, very much looking forward to those. Looking forward to what locomotives change. On a rail driver front, they have said that West Somerset Railway, all of its locos are getting rail driver definitely. They have said that Main Spessart Barn, all of its locomotives are getting rail driver definitely. And Adam on one of his streams alluded to a considerable number of other preserved locomotives getting rail driver, but we'll have to wait and see which ones. They wouldn't commit because they have not passed testing yet, which I guess is fair enough. So we shall see, and it'll be interesting. It's all part of our game playing journeys. So that brings me to a close on the things that I wanted to show you today. Michael's just said in the chat that Matt did say you can copy your Steam profile into your Epic profile, but remind it to back up. Yeah, I think that's true. I think he actually backtracked a little bit on something else he said too, but he's clarified it in the forums, and I'd encourage people to go and find that post. Get active in the forums, because if you want to interact with these people, that's one of the ways you can do it. You can also get onto their Discord channel. I don't generally use Discord very much, so I tend to be a forum person because, you know, I'm just old. But perhaps I should get into Discord more. It gives me another channel to the game team, and I know the developers are in Discord, so it might help get some things changed or fixed or adjusted, depending on your point of view. So, very much encourage you to download this, even if you've already got the game, because you'll get this preview. And you'll get to have a bit of a play with how it's going to be. And what you'll probably most find is, and the main reason I'd encourage you to do it, is how well is 426 going to work on your system. So I've recently upgraded this machine. I've got a 3070 card, which appears to be a downgraded 3070 Ti, because all the things like GPU-Z say it's a 3070 Ti. So I think it's been downgraded. I'm overclocking the thing like crazy at the moment. It's almost double. So it's handling it fine. I've also upgraded from an i5 to an i9 very recently, and I've got a much better quality motherboard than I had before, and that's made a huge difference as well. Just being able to move data back and forth between the CPU and the GPU at a much better rate has made a big difference for me. So you should go and grab this. You should test it out on your hardware. I'd encourage you to post in the forums if you find your hardware works better or works not as well, to encourage the tuning efforts, because even though I reckon we've probably only got a couple of weeks to go before Rush Hour, the core update, comes out, I'd be a little bit surprised if it was slower than that, because they've promised to get 3 routes out by September, by the end of summer, they said, and the UK summer, I think, ends on the 22nd of September, I think. Not 100% sure on that, but I think. So between now and then, that's what, 50 days? So that's not a lot. So I reckon 2 weeks from now, we'll see the first one. And that's 14 days. I reckon 2 weeks after that, we'll see the next one. And that gets us to the midpoint of that period. And then, assuming they do make it by the end of summer, 2 weeks later, we see the next one. And that brings us up to almost the 50 days. So I kind of think that'll be the timetable. I have no inside information whatsoever. I'm purely speculating, so please don't take that as gospel or someone telling you something that's absolutely true. Yes, September 20th, Michael's saying. Yeah, it could be. I thought it was the 22nd in the UK, but it's a weird way to end a season. I mean, in Australia, we do our seasons at the start of the month to the end of the month. We don't do any of this weird things in the middle of months, but that's okay. So I think we're not far away, but definitely encourage people to download this. Definitely encourage you to try it on your hardware, and definitely encourage you, if you have any problems, to put tickets in, because there's probably a very limited window for adjustments to be made now to the core update, if it's even possible at all. But I'd certainly encourage you to try and make sure it works for you. I would suggest indications is that it will work on lower end hardware still, simply because obviously when I upgraded my machine, I noticed significant improvements in the previous version of the game. And between that version and this version, I've noticed another significant set of improvements. So I think it'll help. I think it'll be better. I really do think it'll be better, even on the lower end hardware. Now, one thing that's certainly, I think, influencing the tile loading, because one thing I don't know if any of you noticed, there were no tile loading pauses while we were playing. I didn't play any routes a really long way, but I certainly played them far enough to get over the tiles. The game files are only half the size they used to be. So the main 4.23 base game with 3 routes is about 30 gig, and in this one it's just under 14 to 15 gig. So that's a huge change, and I think having that different file format and having a more efficient compression format in the pack files should help with tile loading, because you shouldn't get that pause while it sucks it in off the SSD or a hard disk if you've got a hard disk still. If you have got a hard disk still, why? It's not that hard to move to an SSD. If you're not sure how to do it yourself, your average computer shop would be more than happy to sell you an SSD and clone your hard disk onto it for you. It only takes a very short time, depending on how big your disk is. And there's little machines that do it, so it's not even a hard thing to do. Encourage people to try. Encourage people to work it out. I see Michael says in the chat that he'll wait. That's okay. If you don't already have the Epic Games launcher, just so you're aware, it does do some things that I consider to be a little bit evil, and it does some things that I think will sooner or later get them in the poo with the EU, and potentially the Australian privacy laws as well. Because one of the things that it reportedly does is it goes and looks at the other stuff you've got installed and tells Epic about the games you've got. Now, I don't know that to be completely true, but a lot of people say it, so it could be. And we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I understand money is challenging, Michael. Michael just mentioned that money is the biggest issue, and it's probably around the hardware comments we've been talking about. It is always a bit difficult. I mean, I first upgraded my machine. I try and upgrade about once every 5 years. And this, in 2020, 2021, I've actually done it twice, because I went into TSW2. Performance was limited on my old machine. I wasn't happy with it, and I upgraded to the best I could get while all the shops were a bit manky, and I struggled to get a good board. I couldn't afford a good processor because the prices went through the roof. So I upgraded to an i5 11700. I did get a decent video card though. I was lucky there. When the 3070s came out, they're not as popular as the 3080s and 3090s, so they're a bit easier to get. You can literally walk into a shop and pick one up. It's great. But the 3080s and 3090s, still most places have waiting lists. I had to upgrade again this year because I had some issues with the board, and that was affecting streaming. You notice I had some issues today, but that was more my own doing, I suspect. I've just got too many USB devices set up at the moment. I need to clean up a bit. I have, for example, 2 main cameras set up because I've replaced my usual streaming camera with a better one. And they're both still plugged in, and it's upsetting things. So the reason I had to upgrade again, well, not so much the reason, but the ability, is we got a tax bonus this year because of COVID. So I spent it on upgrading mine and my wife's gaming computers, which is good fun. But anyway, I think we'll leave that there this week. And apologies for the monologue at the end there. Don't normally do that, but that's all right. So if you've got it, try it. Let people know what you think on the forums. My rail driver has moved again. Must glue that down one day. And enjoy playing. Enjoy the core update when it comes out. I'm certainly looking forward to it. And next week, I think from memory, I think I'm going to be building a scenario for you guys. Let me just have a quick look. Let me have a quick look. Just quickly bring this up. No, wrong menu. Right menu. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing. Apologies. No, next week we're looking at the New York subway. So we're going to be running World of Subways 4. And we're going to be running on the New York 7 line. So if you haven't seen... I'll just put this link in here. It's actually a little bit out of date. I better fix that. I do advertise the streams on my website. If you haven't seen World of Subways 4, it's part simulator, part roleplay game, I guess you could say. And it's interesting. It's certainly more gameplay than train play, but there is plenty of train driving in there. And we will see that next week. I've ridden the 7 line for real. I know it relatively well. There's a lot of videos on YouTube about the 7 line from a driver's point of view. So if you feel like having a look at any of those, just search them up and have a look. Should be a lot of fun. And it'll be the week after that. So that one's on the 8th. And the week after that, we'll be building and playing a scenario in TS 2021. Because I've had a little bit of interest from people who want to see that. Now, that might change. Okay, if the core update comes out, I'll play that for sure. Because the scenario one, yeah, I admit it, it's a bit of filler. But if the core update comes out, we'll play that. If the core update doesn't come out, then expect the scenario. So I think we'll leave it there. It's been great having you along. Thank you very much. I see that there is a like on the video, and I've managed to attract some people who have stayed for the whole thing, and I really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It helps me on my YouTube journey to get more noticed. That's all that really happens. Just for clarity, I can't monetize this channel, and I don't plan on it in the future, even if by some miracle I actually did achieve the minimum requirements, which is, well, I'd go pretty unlikely, but that's okay. But it does help to get it noticed a bit more, because then more people will see it. So thank you very much for watching today. Thank you for coming along on the journey and joining me. Particularly thank you to Michael for being so interactive in the chat, and hopefully we'll be able to get the chat system up and running again, because it is nice to talk to people during the thing. And what I'll be doing right now is... Oh, hello, Roy. That's a familiar name. What I'll be doing right now is going back to the railway that I worked on yesterday to try and find my glasses, because my normal reading glasses, I've got my old ones on at the moment, because partway down the hill on the last part of the trip, my bag took a tumble out of the track machine, and I thought I picked everything up. But no, I picked up my old glasses, but I didn't find my new ones. So I'm going to head up there and go and try and find them, because they're expensive. I don't really want to buy them again. I hope I can find them today. There's a lot of long grass there, so I'm not really hopeful, but wish me luck. And yeah, hopefully I'll find them. It's a nice sunny day. If nothing else, it's a nice day to go for a walk in the bush. So that'll be it. So thank you very much for coming along on the journey, and I shall see you all next week. And Roy, I won't see you at work next week because I'm on leave. All right. Bye, folks. All right then. That brings us to a close for today. Thanks for watching the stream, and I hope you enjoyed it. I welcome any and all feedback. Feel free to comment on the video. Constructive criticism is welcome, especially if I've got something wrong. I stream every Sunday morning starting at 8:30 AM, and I also do ad hoc streams from time to time during the week. Please subscribe and click notify to avoid missing out. Subscribing helps me by helping me see what content is good and how it helps the channel grow, or doesn't, as the case may be.
So a little bit of info about me. I drive train simulators, but unlike some, that isn't my only railway experience. Today I operate on a preserved railway doing track inspections and operating as second person on the footplate in trains. I've driven steam, diesel, sparks and trams from time to time across several rail networks. I understand how trains work and how complex train forces enforce certain train handling procedures, especially around acceleration and braking. Generally when I'm driving a simulator, I try to be prototypical. I don't have a lot of in-cab video because we cannot do it while moving, but here's a short clip of me doing the cab half of a standing brake test to ensure continuity across the train. I build model trains in traditional means and have an ON30 logging railway and a Lego trains layout because I can. So yes, I'm not just a gunsel, I'm a proper train nut. Thanks for watching and see you next time.